The moment is not tomorrow, but the moment to act is today and now.
Round-the-clock electricity is important.
India has moved a lot in the clean energy space.
There were many benefits that we saw in Tata Power. We are saving almost around 14,000 units every year.
गांव में तो बहुत बदलाव आ गया है 24 घंटा वो बल्ब जलता रहता है
It's a pioneering project for India. It's a very large scale floating project.
The quality of power supply has improved in the state.
बिजनेस के लिए ये सोलर पैनल बहुत अच्छा है
In the event of any kind of a catastrophe, I can still continue my operation, and that is what is business continuity.
From underground to overground to a substation on floor 44.
Expansion planning has to be very scientific.
SIA Fest 2025, a platform to celebrate collaboration and climate leadership. The festival witnessed policymakers, diplomats, innovators, and changemakers engage in stimulating conversations to accelerate the transition to clean energy and to chart India's roadmap to a greener, cleaner future.
We gather here for the SIA festival, which is a celebration of Sustainable is Attainable. When Tata Power launched SIA in 2022, our goal was to make sustainability understandable, desirable, and attainable for every Indian. Building on that momentum, SIA Season.2 has taken the movement ahead towards unleashing the power of individual action. It is inspiring millions of people to adopt planet-friendly actions, install solar rooftops, embrace electric mobility, and choose energy-efficient practices. Today, we celebrate this journey from awareness to accountability and from inspiration to implementation. However, no nation can fight climate change alone. We need participation and we need partnerships that transcends borders. India can serve as a bridge between the global south and the global north, ensuring ambition is matched by equity. When we act for clean energy at home, we act for climate justice worldwide. As energy providers, we are conscious that we are also timekeepers of the planet, and it's our responsibility to bring the change. Within this challenge lies our greatest opportunity to rebuild better, rethink faster, and reimagine the systems that sustain life. True energy democracy means that clean power beyond metros in semi-urban areas, villages, and whole of rural India. Every solar rooftop, every electric vehicle, every windmill, every microgrid adds momentum. Adoption is not an afterthought. It is our insurance policy for the future of our planet, our environment, and our very existence. To that extent, I once again thank all of you and request all of you to partner with us in this transformation journey that we have started. Thank you very much.
Each of us has the power to make choices that protect our planet. To inspire us further for the journey, here's a message from our Union Minister of New and Renewable Energy, Shri Prahlad Joshi, reminding us that sustainable is attainable.
Sustainable is attainable reflect the mission life by promoting mindful, climate positive, lifestyle choices. Congratulations to all sustainable, is attainable champions of change, whose remarkable work is inspiring the India's green energy transformation at the grassroots. Their focus on rooftop solar, MSMEs, DISCOM, women and youth shows the community-led clean energy action. Under Vikasit Bharat 2047, India is building one of the world's largest clean energy systems. PM Suryaghar Muft Bijli Yojana is a turning lakhs of homes into the rooftop solar producers. India is on track to meet 10% of the global green hydrogen demand by 2030. The National Green Hydrogen Mission is positioning India as a global leader in clean fuels and manufacturing. Green skilling program are preparing the youth for the clean energy workforce. As MNRE and Consumer Affairs Minister, our goal is sustainable options that are accessible, affordable and reliable for all. Sustainable is attainable proves that policy, innovation and people together can build a greener, more prosperous India. Thank you.
MNRE Secretary Sri Santosh Kumar Sarangi set the tone for the day, lending his full support to the initiative and sharing sharp, forward-looking insights on how India is powering ahead on its renewable energy mission. A reminder of the scale, speed and ambition driving the nation's clean energy journey.
Let me kick this conversation off with the Secretary for the Department of New and Renewable Energy, Mr. Santosh Sarangi. Sir, thank you very much, first of all, for being with us. Today, the question of energy transition at a time when there is geopolitical uncertainty, there are challenges and volatility related to energy supply chains, there are weaponization of resources taking place globally. I think focus on renewable energy is all the more important. Could you give us a sense of where we are with our renewable energy targets? We had a target of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030. Where have we reached? And what do you think will be some of the milestones we'll achieve in this fiscal year?
Thank you. As far as the renewable energy trajectory is concerned, we are well on course to achieve about 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel based installation of energy by 2030. But what is more important from India's point of view is an understanding that sustainability initiatives are traditionally considered to be having huge trade-offs, to be having huge cost burden. But what India has proved in its journey is that sustainability initiatives and clean energy transitions are not mutually exclusive but mutually inclusive. We have proved over a period of time that clean energy transition can be cost efficient, and with the kind of prices that we have seen in solar energy, in wind energy, and in a variety of mixes of energy, clean energy, through FDRE, through round-the-clock supply, through solar, wind, hybrid, it only goes on to prove that if you have the commitment, if you have speed, scale, and the right kind of commitment, then it's possible to convert sustainability initiatives into big opportunities, and that is what India has been showing.
Right. Also, in terms of building domestic capabilities, there have been a number of schemes which have been launched by the Government of India to incentivize local manufacturing. What's the next big push that we can expect in terms of creating the ecosystem for greater solar module, cell manufacturing in India, making sure the entire supply chain of renewable energy components is here in India?
So in this context, The schemes play a very significant but not a very large role in the offtake. The larger role is in terms of the utility scale storage, the demand of the C&I consumers, and in future, the green hydrogen manufacturing units will consume huge quantities of green energy. So domestic demand is going to grow exponentially, and that is what is going to drive the manufacturing push in our country. And these will grow not because these are a compulsion or a green energy transition compulsion, but because the prices have come to a point where they can stand on their own feet and they can drive up the demand for these products. And we have Mr. Sinha from Tata Power, who have already set up module and cell manufacturing units. We are looking at big players to also get into the upstream of this value chain in setting up ingot and wafer manufacturing and polysilicon manufacturing unit. And we are forcing a great future for manufacturing within the country.
All right. Thank you very much for that very important message, Mr. Sarangi. And ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.
At SIA Fest 2025, the conversation stretched far beyond India's borders, diving into how energy diplomacy, green technology, and global partnerships are shaping a new sustainable world order, a truly international lens on the universal challenge.
We have two Scandinavian countries who are at the cutting edge, who are at the very forefront of green technology, clean technology, who are really leading examples in the world as to how to make the pivot from fossil fuels to renewables. So let me start with the ambassador from Denmark, where I'm not sure how many of you know this, but today 75% of Denmark's electricity comes from renewables, and the aim is to make it 100% green electricity by the end of the decade. Tell us, how can India take inspiration from the lessons in Denmark? What are the lessons that can be, transplanted from the example in your country to what we can do at scale here in India in terms of diversifying our energy portfolio?
I think India is already a front runner in many ways, not least when it comes to the deployment of solar. And India was also one of the first countries, along with Denmark, to put emphasis on wind energy. But I think the Danish story really, where it can perhaps inspire others. If you go back just 25 years to, say, the year 2000, more than 90% of Denmark's electricity came from fossil fuels. It's only 25 years ago. And as you pointed out, now more than 70% of our electricity comes from renewables, and we will be beyond 100 in a few years, fully decarbonized. Number two, on the reliability, I think apart from Luxembourg, which is a very small country in Europe, Denmark has actually the highest sort of reliability in our electricity grid in Europe. So the fewest minutes or seconds of outage. So despite the fact that we have so much fluctuating energy from wind and solar, the energy system is quite stable. And of course, it also, with the current, energy security issues we have in Europe, the fact that we have so much renewables also gives us a good position there. And thirdly, on the price, and that's of course fundamental and key, because all societies need to be able to provide affordable energy to its citizens. And yes, 25 years ago, when we started this journey, a lot of the renewables that we invested in required a lot of subsidies and were expensive. But today they don't require subsidies anymore. They are not only competitive, but are also the cheaper solution. So at least in Denmark, by far the cheapest energy we can get is from wind. Next comes solar and other renewables. And only after that comes oil, gas, coal, etc. They are the more expensive solutions. And that, of course, comes from decades of investment, innovation, the right policies, incentive structures, but then the costs have come down. And I think that's really key. And back to the point, I think those three things is something that could also inspire India. The difference is just that India needs to do this at scale, and it is already doing it. So I take great comfort in that, in fact.
Correct. Ambassador Stena, in terms of Norway, again, you've made the pivot to clean energy. And again, I'm not sure how much of our audience knows this, that 9 out of 10 units of electricity generated in Norway are generated from hydropower. Again, do you share the same experience as Denmark, that eventually now the cost of generation of clean electricity is much cheaper than from fossil fuels? Therefore, even from a cost perspective, it makes sense to have this pivot.
Our industrial adventure started actually over 100 years ago. So we have been running on hydropower internally in Norway for almost that time. And it's right that you were saying 90% of our electricity comes from hydro, and the rest 10% comes from wind. So we are actually 100% driven on clean energy internally in Norway. And that is, of course, also experiences that we would like to share. The Norwegian company Statkraft was the first company to invest in hydropower here in India 20 years ago. So they have also been part of constructing hydropower plants here in India and contributing to this journey by about 500 megawatt of electricity. But I think also here it needs to you need to focus on the grid. The grid and the transmission lines also needs to be fit for purpose and fit for the renewable energy sources that are coming. Just lastly, let me also say that we have a system, Norway and India together. We have something called the Task Force on Energy, where we are sharing our experiences with the Indian government, and the industry from both countries are also taking part.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for Ambassador May Ellen Stenner of Norway and Ambassador Rasmus Christensen of Denmark. Thank you very much.
The spotlight then shifted to Make in India, powered by Green India. In a special session, Alok Kumar, Additional Chief Secretary, Uttar Pradesh, shared how the state is accelerating its renewable energy roadmap.
Let me begin by asking you on this whole push towards renewable energy that we've seen in the last few years specifically. There have been a lot of schemes that have been designed by the center to encourage states to adopt renewable energy into their mix. So if you could take us through some of that on how is Uttar Pradesh adopting these schemes, and what is the mandate that you're getting from the center, the direction?
Yeah, so I think if you look at the central policies, there is a clear push once we committed that by 2070 we will go to zero emission levels. And we also committed some milestones along the path, and 2030 we said that we will achieve 50%. Now that 50% target of renewable energy was completed in 2025, 5 years ahead of schedule. And that is largely because Government of India is incentivizing renewable energy. They have come up with business models. They have come up with net metering, net billing kind of situations where it incentivizes private producers to supply to the grid and also earn from it. Then they have brought in a whole host of schemes like PM Kusum Yojana, which essentially converts the diesel pump-fired irrigation wells, tube wells, into solar pumps. Then there is a PM Surya Ghar Yojana in which households are incentivized to set up solar rooftop units so that a part of their energy needs can be met through solar. That scheme is being rolled out. And most recently, the Department of Heavy Industry, Ministry of Heavy Industries has come up with a scheme of ramping up charging infrastructure, because the key to the transition of vehicles from fossil fuel driven vehicles to green vehicles or EV vehicles will be the charging infrastructure. So these are the broad schemes which the Government of India is handling, and many of those are being implemented in the state of UP.
Yeah, so let's talk about the state of UP. If you could take us through some of the key initiatives that the state of UP has implemented.
Broadly following the Government of India policy guidelines, I'm happy to share that we are doing 1.5 gigawatts capacity addition in solar every year on an annual basis.
Can we get a round of applause on that, please?
Currently, about 28,000 acres of land has been identified for development of solar parks. And we are working with both Government of India entities as well as private entities for setting up these solar farms which will produce solar energy. As of now, 430 megawatts are operational and 4130 megawatts are under various stages of construction. I am also happy to announce that at this point in time, 11 pump storage plants with a capacity of 12,350 megawatts have been sanctioned, and they are in various stages because it requires a lot of environmental clearance, so they are in the various stages of environmental clearance and all. The third form of energy that we are harvesting is the compressed biogas, which use agriculture waste and other such things to convert those into, parali is a big problem for all of us who live in this part of the country, and particularly in this particular season. So we have, as of now, 33 compressed biogas projects already functional, and 129 more are under construction. So in every district, we are ensuring that all the agricultural waste, which otherwise is burnt and that that pollution is let into the atmosphere, is then converted into energy. And we have 33 plus 152 projects sanctioned. So overall, if you see whether it is the agricultural waste, whether it is the solar, or whether it is the pump storage, on all three fronts we are moving. There is also a green hydrogen mission which we are undertaking in partnership with Japanese. And if that technology we are able to commercialize, then we will be moving much faster down the path on the what you have labeled as sustainable is attainable.
We wish you the very best in this nation-building exercise, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The energy at SIA Fest 2025 was absolutely electric. Thought-provoking panels, powerful keynotes and stories that stirred hearts and minds. From policy to purpose, innovation to inspiration, every conversation pushed India's clean energy transition forward. Leaders, experts, innovators and citizens came together to power a greener tomorrow, celebrating ideas, impact and the people who make it possible. SIA Fest 2025 brought sustainability off the stage and into the real world. From Anokha Dhaga's beautifully handcrafted pieces, each one telling a story of women's empowerment and conscious living, to a solar rooftop showcase that made clean energy feel simple, accessible and everyday. All coming together to prove one thing: going green isn't just about tech, it's about people, purpose and the choices we make daily. A dynamic panel then took it further, exploring how AI, data and digital systems are reshaping India's energy ecosystem.
Today, when we speak about renewable energy, everybody knows that this is something we need to focus on. But how do we ensure easier access? And how could the example of ONDC may be extended to the energy sector?
Now, talking about ONDC and UPI and why am I here with Beacon Protocol talking about what we think is an opportunity of a lifetime with the energy transition that we as a humanity are looking at. I think a couple of things. Of course, UPI is very different, energy is very different, although people say that energy is the next UPI. The comparison is not literal, but I think it's the larger transformational sense of what we could achieve with the larger idea behind some of these efforts called the digital public infrastructure. And that new way of looking at new things is possibly a mindset and a way of thinking and an approach I see for what we think is the impact aperture we have in the field of energy, with especially what you heard from Mr. Secretary and the previous speakers about what can renewables do, the rapid solarization, the rooftops, and the emerging abundance of batteries because of the massive cost curve declines. I think there's an opportunity to rethink of a new way of accessing energy, clean, accessible, affordable energy en masse, and also make us, as passive consumers of electricity, we probably come alive only to pay the bill at the end of the month in some sense while recognizing energy, but be an active participant in shaping the energy transition as everybody is, not just for the utility companies and governments and the fiscal incentives and the PLI schemes, but also put, just like how UPI is not just a population scale technology, but almost a population scale habit, can we make that sort of a habitual, conscious effort from masses to adopt and accelerate the energy transition. So that's the way of thinking. Of course, if you have to do it at scale, digital is important. But what India has taught in the last 15 years of the digital transformation with DPI is that ideas like UPI fundamentally saying it's not just about digitization of one organization or the other organization in silos, but you need to have common rails. With UPI, you could have many UPI apps, work with many banks to get you the bank account that you may have or several bank accounts you have in multiple places to do it. With ONDC, a merchant can offer their goods and services on multiple platforms without having to be on each of those platforms individually and be naturally discoverable on an open network and make it available. A taxi driver or Namayatri auto rickshaw driver on ONDC does not have to pay any commission to be discoverable and find rights. So this way of democratizing access will accelerate the adoption. We have seen that many a times, and I think that's an opportunity that's for us to sort of harness in the next 5 years and the opportunity ahead with this way of thinking. And that's where I see the parallel between what we do with digital public infrastructure, be it commerce or payments. I see a very similar potential opportunity here in energy.
Very interesting, Sujit. Anvesha, if I were to ask you, how do you think we can speed up our transition to green energy and perhaps also integrate our larger vision? You know, when we think about renewable energy right now, you know, you've got renewable energy sources, you've got green hydrogen, you've got electric vehicle batteries, you've got the Surya Ghar Yojana. How do you integrate it all on one platform?
No, I think that's a very relevant and pertinent point. I think if I were to kind of take a step back and say that what does India need to focus on, first and foremost is planning, okay? An integrated planning, all right, which takes into account all the flows in the system, all the energy sources in the system, and looks at it in a very comprehensive manner. And in a way, the government recognizes this, and you know, it has brought all the ministries together into making a consolidated vision for India's energy sector for 2047. Making sure that there's integration. But I think it has to go down to a planning level, which is more modeling oriented and has very, very kind of firm analysis behind it, which shows the pathways that India should follow. Storage, again, I feel, in my personal opinion, that while India is looking at storage in a big way, have we got the model right? We are looking at it at the developer end, at the generation end, but is that the best way to optimize it?
Very important points by Sujit and Anvesha, importance of innovation, importance of planning, importance of funding. Let me ask Pradeep Singhvi now. Pradeep, on carbon markets, currently the EU does not have a carve-out, but I think if we have our carbon markets, our exporters will still benefit and may find a way out of it. What do you think? Are we going to see some clarity on carbon markets from the Indian government soon?
Yes, definitely. So I think Indian government already notified the intensity target also for the large consumers, and this time they have given next 2 years target, and they need to reduce their emission intensity. And the baseline year is 2023-24, and already the baseline study is already done. And based on these studies, so it's a unit-wise studies, not sector-wise studies. So based on these studies, Government of India already provided the target, and we are towards the developing the online portal for the carbon market also, and rules, regulations, everything is in place. It's I think launching is required, and maybe few limited things are pending. So, but it is upcoming thing.
Fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. Sujit, Anvesha, Pradeep, thank you very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our experts here.
The next Power Pack panel brings the spotlight to the grassroots, where decentralized energy is enabling real change.
From a policy perspective, how have we seen this space evolve over the years? Say 10 years ago, if we were having this conversation, maybe the numbers would have been far more muted.
In last couple of years, there have been many nudges which are created for citizen centricity and Jan Bhagidari of programs. And which is why today you can see the unlocking of these numbers as you see it today. In February 2024, we launched the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. Today, we are sitting at 20 lakh households having an access to the rooftop solar. We have a PM Kusum scheme in the agriculture sector for the solarization of agriculture. And we have almost 18 lakh pumps solarized under that scheme. So this quantum jump in number is essentially because now there has been a huge capacity building drive, a huge nudging that is happening in the sector to demystify what clean energy means and what accessibility and ease of accessibility means for the citizens of India.
Fantastic. Let me bring in you here from an industry point of view. You know, we've seen industry also play a very proactive role where ease of access is concerned. Could you take us through a little bit of that journey?
Yes, so last few years, everyone is focusing on the grid scale, how to make the generation more greener and adopting the clean energy. It's have to discuss about all aspects of the electricity ecosystem, maybe from generation, transmission, distribution, and end consumer. Let the end consumer, like commercial, industrial sector, actually not paying only the electricity bill to the discoms. They are paying multiple bills. They are paying bills to the diesel genset. They are paying bills to the voltage stabilizer they are using. They are paying bill to the STATCOMs they are using. Solar with advanced energy storage solutions, with advanced smarter grids, they actually can solve by half of the electricity cost. And there is also, they can reduce the manufacturing wastage. Many batch manufacturing industries, if you consider like plastics, foundries, textiles, and also the critical infrastructure like hotels, hospitals, and other infrastructures, they can now, I see last 2 to 3 years, due to the reduction on cost of clean energy technologies, both commercial and industrial space started adopting it. Yes, there is an issue on the capex side, but with the appropriate financing, it hasn't done a miracle things. And this will actually increase the productivity and contribute to the GDP.
Absolutely. Let me bring in the original veteran in this space, Mr. Harish Hande, co-founder of Selco India. Mr. Hande, we saw your photograph before coming on stage where you were installing a solar panel in 1993. What have you learned about designing energy systems that people don't just use, but truly own and manage as part of their daily lives? Is it as daunting? What have been the challenges that you've come across? What have been the changes that you've seen over the last few decades?
What is not changing over the decades is that we are still stuck to the supply side. We are not looking at the demand side. Right? When I design solar for a sewing machine, people say it's expensive, but nobody actually says that the sewing machine is inefficient. We are focusing on solar and batteries. We are not focusing on the efficiency of the appliances that will actually be there. So that change actually needs to happen. And secondly, we should actually, solar is like a salt. I'm not going to give a presentation on salt. I'm going to give presentation on roti dal, because end goal is roti, end goal is dal, end goal is health, end goal is livelihoods, end goal is education. We need to focus where solar is an enabler, and that's when the scale up is happening. Wow. Right? So things still are on supply side, not on the demand side. I think we should start focusing on the demand side and start innovating on the demand side.
Does policy have a role in that? Right, Ms. Chandra?
I think I really appreciate how passionately you talk about the demand side. I do admit that we have an overwhelming sort of focus on the supply side, and that's primarily because of the statutory structure that obtains currently in the regulations. And definitely going forward, there is a need of unlocking of the demand side management, whether it's deployment of the smart appliances or decentralizing the solar or the renewable energy use itself, where the renewable energy plays a catalytic role and the unlocking happens from the end user. Currently, the electricity consumption of India is 1/3 of the global average, but we have to consume responsibly. And therefore, the demand side management and the demand side unlocking has to happen in a responsible manner. And we do have policy nudges like Mission Life, but definitely in terms of transmission, distribution, improving the health of our discoms, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and definitely the relevant ministries are at it.
Let's also talk about financing, Mr. Das. You have been financing large renewable energy projects for decades now, and decentralization means that power comes in the hands of the people. So is there a special financial toolkit that IREDA has designed to ensure financing for the small industries, marginal farmers, and other communities who might not have access to very sophisticated forms of financing to enable the transition?
Finance is not a problem at all in India with respect to RE, whether it is wholesale or retail. As my co-panelists say, it is a lack of awareness, lack of sensitivity, and that kind of correction need to happen. If you ask finance, renewable project in India, 80% of the project are developed by private sectors. Second, this 20% whatever is there, though they are not private sector, but larger government public sector undertaking who also work on commercial terms. So it is not that RE financing is here through grant or something like that. Today we are fairly matured. We are not only the third largest, but we are leading from front globally also. So retail lending will not be a problem. IREDA was not designed for retail lending. In retail space, if you look at last 2 years, Kusum agricultural solarization and then rooftop solarization came. Since solar is fairly matured in the sector, any bank is ready to come and lend. And bank is having huge amount of retail network. That is what, despite not IREDA leading from upfront with respect to solar retail lending, still we have reached that much of numbers of household lending. And apart from that, IREDA started lending rooftop solar also. We have created a retail division. We have done fair amount of Kusum agricultural loans also, apart from doing bigger project loans.
On that high note, we'll conclude this conversation. Thank you so much.
The last session brought the future into focus, with young change makers who are rewriting India's climate story, powering the shift to clean energy with innovation, passion, and purpose.
Akash Rani San, you fought a barrier. You decided not to get defined by identities of caste. And that was your first activism. So tell me, what has been the barrier here when you decided to become a climate crusader? You call yourself a climate optimist and not an activist. So apologies for that introduction. It's a climate optimist. Why? Why not activism?
Because nothing wrong happened to me ever in life. Like, for example, I never lost my house in a flood or nothing. I just love nature. And whatever you love, you protect. And that's where I come from. I love nature, so I protect it. So I don't have any sad story to share that, okay, back in that year, I lost my house or anything happened. And that's why I decided I should fight it. I mean, I just love nature, and that's why I should fight for saving it. That's why optimism.
रामवीर, आपकी जर्नी भी बहुत ही ज़्यादा खुशगवार तो रही नहीं है, डिफ़िकल्ट है. FIRs वगैरह से भी गुजरे हैं आप. ज़रा अपनी कहानी के बारे में बताइए. जो वाटर कंजर्वेशन का आपका सपना है, 80 पॉन्ड्स को आपने रिवाइव किया है, रिस्टोर किया है. इट्स नॉट रिस्ट्रिक्टेड टू वन स्टेट. गुजरात तक पहुंच गए हैं आप, लेकिन आसान नहीं रही है ये जर्नी. तो वो बैरियर्स का कैसे सामना किया आपने?
बिल्कुल आसान तो देखिए, मेरे क्या सामने बैठे हुए किसी भी दर्शक की जर्नी आसान नहीं होगी अगर लोग यहाँ तक पहुँचे हैं तो. बाकी मेरा काम है हमारे गांव, शहर और कस्बों के जो पुराने तालाब थे, जिन्हें हम जोहड़ कहते हैं, पोखर कहते हैं, और सभी की मुझे लग रहा है अधिकांश लोगों की यादें, बचपन की यादें उन तालाबों के साथ जुड़ी होंगी. कोई नहाया होगा, किसी ने उन्हें सुंदर देखा होगा, लेकिन सबकी तरह मैंने भी उन्हें मरते हुए देखा है. मैंने उन्हें तालाब से कूड़े घर में कन्वर्ट होते हुए देखा है. और इसीलिए मैंने सोचा था कि अगर मैं अपनी लाइफ में एक भी तालाब को वापस से रेस्टोर कर पाऊँगा तो मेरे लिए शायद बड़ा अचीवमेंट होगा. लेकिन ईश्वर ने साथ दिया, लोगों ने सपोर्ट किया, कॉरपोरेट्स ने सपोर्ट किया, और एक नहीं, दो नहीं, हम 100 से ज़्यादा तालाब अभी तक पूरे देश भर में रेस्टोर कर चुके हैं. और इसके लिए खुद हमारे ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने मन की बात में ही one day suddenly he said कि he should be known as pond man of India. So after that, not only in India but our work have been published in more than 20 countries till now, and I'm known as pond man of India. Not only me but मेरे साथ जितने भी लोग हैं जो तालाबों के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, कीचड़ भरे गंदगी भरे तालाबों में घुस रहे हैं, उन्हें साफ़ कर रहे हैं, वो सारे लोग पॉन्ड मैन हैं। और ये बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस से गुजरते हैं, इन्फेक्शन से गुजरते हैं, लोगों के विरोध से गुजरते हैं, गालियों से गुजरते हैं, FIR से गुजरते हैं, क्योंकि आज की डेट में तालाब मतलब सरकारी प्रॉपर्टी और जो सरकारी है वो सबकी है, और जब सबकी होती है तो सब उसको साफ़ करने के बजाय सब उसको कब्जाने के लिए सोचते हैं। तो इसीलिए तालाबों के लिए जब हम काम करते हैं तो बहुत विरोध भी झेलना पड़ता है और कई बार सरकारी कार्रवाई भी झेलनी पड़ती है।
Gurleen, what has been your journey and the barrier that you have fought? We're talking about solar solutions, solar in farming, solar as far as water is concerned. But is it that easy to achieve across the country?
When we as a country talk about barriers for solar adoption, I think we have really been running a marathon and winning it at another level. This is the first thing I want to say. I remember when I was in my undergrad, I was writing SOPs where I would say 80% of people still don't have access to electricity. And that narrative changed in the next 5 years while I was doing my PhD.
Shubhra, your story, your barrier, long-term energy solutions. First of all, what are that? Because we keep talking about solar and wind, but what is this long-term solution that one talks about?
Sure. I would want to introduce long-duration energy storage as a topic first, because I think very less is known about what long-duration energy storage really is. So there's a global organization called the Long Duration Energy Storage Council, which was launched in COP26 with a pledge to contribute in terms of storage for the clean energy transition across the globe. I lead the council in India, and we have a commitment to really tip the scale when it comes to clean energy transition, and also looking at how true economic and social development can come by through cleaner energy sources and looking at how renewables can be utilized better. The point here is that even as a country, when we're moving miles in terms of adding renewable capacity, we've already achieved the target of 500 gigawatt of adding renewables. In terms of the installed capacity, there's going to be many more renewable projects come up till 2030, and when that happens, we really have to think whether our grid is supportive enough to absorb that energy and provide it where it is required. And that is where the big role of long duration energy storage comes in.
But thank you so much. It's a very, very insightful conversation that it has been. And we now arrive at one of the most special moments of SIA Fest 2025. A celebration of the people who are making sustainability not just a goal, but a way of life. The Sustainable is Attainable champions of change embody the very essence of this movement. May I please invite back on stage Suman Chandra, Director, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Also joining her on stage, Dr. Praveer Sinha, CEO and Managing Director at Tata Power. And joining him, please welcome back on stage Zaka Jacob, Managing Editor, CNN News 18, to felicitate our SIA Champions of Change. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Gurleen Kaur for her pioneering work in solar energy access and her advocacy for women-led sustainability solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shubhra Thakur, Country Director, India IDES Council, for driving global conversations and collaborations in long-duration energy storage. Put your hands together for Akash Ranisan, climate optimist and author, for inspiring thousands through his creative storytelling and on-ground climate advocacy. The final change maker, Vidyut Mohan, is not here, but to accept the award on his behalf, can we please have Amit Sharma, Head of Product Development at Tata Power. Can we please have all the change makers back on the stage for a group photograph?
We are here to talk about what happens when artists come together with people with purpose. And over a year ago, when we started the process of trying to distill down what the energy behind Tata Power's initiatives in community and sustainability were all about, and could we write a song about it? When we jammed with the team at Tata Power, we came up with a metaphor for energy that we are proud to present to you for the first time ever. Vidyut Dhara.